Hello, everybody, and welcome to our monthly webinar. I'm Candy Mitchell, the Director of Digital Marketing here at CoreTech, and I'm your host today. Before we get started, I have a couple of administrative notes for you. We do have a Q&A feature enabled, so if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in there and we will answer them at the end of the webinar. Also, we are recording today's webinar and we will email a link to the recording and also the deck after everything is over and published on our website. So today our speaker is Joe DeCock, Director of our hybrid cloud practice here at CoreTech. And the topic he will cover is how to ensure that a successful, wow, I'm doing a great job today, Joe. I can't even get the title of the webinar.
It's a long one.
How you can ensure a successful mergers and acquisition strategy leveraging hybrid cloud. So thanks for joining us today, Joe, and I will hand it over to you now.
Awesome. Thank you, Candy. Yeah, holiday hangover. Hopefully everyone had a good Memorial Day weekend with an extra day in there. Celebrate some time with family and friends with extra day off work and pause and remember those who gave their lives for our country, ultimately in the ultimate sacrifice and defending it with the freedom. So we're going to roll right into this. As Candy said, this is a hybrid cloud technology discussion and focus around the importance of technology utilizing hybrid cloud inside of mergers and acquisitions and how it can be aligned to a great strategy with the organization in doing such. So here's the agenda that we're setting forth for today. We're going to kind of set the stage of why IT and technology for your organization is an important and even should be considered, I guess, the tip of the spear for your merger and acquisition strategy. And then we're going to kind of look at a good common platform strategy for setting the stage for those mergers and acquisitions and why that's important. And then we'll kind of touch on some of the available technologies and what they look like in that common platform mindset and at an architectural level, very high architectural level, which will utilize your technology as an asset for acquisitions. So real quick, Joe DeCock, Director of Hybrid Cloud at CoreTech, been with the organization about a year. And I've got over 20 years experience in the data center. Started out, I guess, a traditional, mindset of climbing through the corporate ladder, if you will. Started out doing help desk all the way through data center administration and actually spent time at an organization, a public school organization, where we did mergers and acquisitions of other schools' technologies. So been through these M&As as an admin myself, kind of at that level to see what works and what doesn't work and what could have been done better. And in recent years, I'd say the last 8 to 10 years, been doing consulting through architecture in the data center. So that's kind of my background and where I'm coming from in all of this myself. So let's go ahead and talk about setting that stage for technology and IT for your organization to make sure that it is a successful part of your mergers and acquisitions. I think a lot of times at CoreTech, when we consult with other organizations and other roles that I've held, when it comes to these mergers and acquisitions, a lot of times consultants like us are being brought in to clean up messes. And that's just a lot in due part to so much technology. Nobody's technology is the same, right? Everyone's kind of got a different strategy for their organizations, and it's led them up to the point where they're talking about going through a merger acquisition. And now comes a time to fuse all that stuff together, and it can be very, very challenging. So I'd like to cite for our setting the stage portion here, an article out of the Harvard Business Review about mergers and acquisitions and why a lot of them fail and fail miserably. I'm a business graduate myself with an IT degree in there along the way. So very focused on the business side as of recent. And when it comes to looking at things from a business standpoint, I love to go through the Harvard Business Review because it's not business news and things like that. I think we all kind of tend to follow business news and trends like that through different resources. But with the Harvard Business Review, this is actual professors and different business leaders talking about theory and business mindsets and strategies and things that work and don't work for different things. One of them obviously being mergers and acquisitions. So if you don't read a periodical like the Harvard Business Review for stuff like this, I strongly encourage you look at it. You'll get a copy of this presentation at the end, I believe, or it's going to be emailed to everybody digitally, so you'll be able to kind of look back on this article and pick through it yourself. But what we understand is that so many fail, and a lot of them fail because they don't go into the merger and acquisition with the right mindset. Okay, there's a give and take to mergers and acquisitions, and those who fail, this study had found that most of them are failing miserably, and most of them are failing altogether because they go into that merger and acquisition with the understanding and mindset that they're trying to get something out of it, right? They're trying to take something from it, get into a market that they don't understand, et cetera, et cetera. So some of the largest and most unsuccessful acquisitions have come from that standpoint of trying to enter a market that's attractive to them, right? That's where a lot of them have put their focus, and that's what we consider that take mode, if you will. So Microsoft and Google are good examples of this. If anyone's been around as long as I have, you can probably recall when Microsoft and Google wanted to get into the smartphone market, well after Apple had already been into it, right? And we kind of understand nowadays where that turned out. Apple still has that market, and Google and Microsoft failed miserably at it. HP at one time wanted to get into enterprise search and analytics. News Corp wanted to get into social networking. These are a couple other pretty largely visible acquisitions that had happened based on markets that organizations wanted to get into. So they started off on the wrong foot with that, right? The first problem with those failures was that they didn't realize is that the buyer, when they're in take mode like that, like Microsoft, HP, and Google in these examples, the seller can now elevate their price. So Microsoft, Google, HP, News Corp, they all pay top dollar for those acquisitions to try to get into that market. And the return on those investments become much more difficult, complex, and become a lot longer term to get the ROI on that. But they also, again, didn't understand their market that they were getting into. So Microsoft paid top dollar for Yammer. Yahoo paid 85 times the revenue for Tumblr. And how many people can still say that Tumblr's out there, right? I don't know, maybe they are. But 85 times the revenue, that's insane when most acquisitions and mergers start at about 3 to 5 years of an organization's revenue as the starting point, and then they work up or down for that based on different parts of the organization to determine its valuation. So none of those panned out, right? Because mindset was wrong. The mentality and the management oversight of it wasn't correct either in what they were looking to do and accomplish. So when we consider going into making a M&A successful, there's really, I guess, 4 points that you really need to consider to make that happen. And this is something that the study in the HBR actually pulled out too. These are proven to work if you do these things successfully at the beginning, right? Be a smarter provider of growth and capital, provide better managerial oversight. And these next points, numbers 3 and 4, these are the ones we're going to focus on for the point of our discussion today. Transfer valuable skills and share valuable capabilities. And this is hopefully going to let you walk away with something to arm yourself as an IT department, IT leader, technology leader, or a different leader in the organization that has a technology department. Hopefully it arms you with something to consider in how you can make technology and IT an asset for your organization as you're stepping through the M&As. So let's go ahead and talk about what that would look like. That would be a common platform for everybody. And I guess what this means, if we take a step back and what is this common platform we're talking about? Every organization has technology, has some facet of IT, information technology, whatever we're going to call it, right? Platform services, technology services. Every organization has this. It's very, very rare anymore to run into an organization that doesn't. I can only think of a couple like small mom and pop restaurants I've run into that are still taking orders by paper, handing it to the line cook, and still taking cash by punching in, numbers on a cash register, right? Most of them have adopted the Clover systems now, which are pretty common in the restaurant industry even. But when we think about organizations as a whole, IT is a business unit, or your technology department is a business unit that really is the key resource or key source of revenue for virtually any organization today. All organizations, including everyone here, is using technology for the likes of payroll, CRM, quality control, electronic medical records, healthcare record sharing, financial tracking, communications, collaboration, right? We can keep going on and on and on with all of the things technology is doing for our organizations. At best, most organizations also have applications that are specific to their organization, things like a data warehouse, for example, a front-end web server that drives in web commerce of some kind for B2B platforms that allows your customers to automate buying, widgets or whatever from you. All of that is now the focal point of your organization, making it a key driver for revenue. If that doesn't happen, your revenue doesn't happen. If you didn't adapt to that platform years ago, you wouldn't be a viable organization today because you wouldn't be able to keep up with the demand or keep up with the market and what it's demanding. So when we talk about those applications and technology that goes into it, that should be seen as a functional and specific skill set or asset that can be transferred or merged to the company you're acquiring or merging with. Technology in the acquiring organization or one of the organizations that is part of that merger should be seen as bringing a specific asset to the table of that acquired company or the merged company in the party. And it should be so highly developed that it's seen as being able to enhance this business deal through this merger and acquisition. So when we think about an example of this, we're going to talk about a couple examples, and then we're going to get into what this technology might look like. Pepsi Cola. I'm a student of history. I love history, and obviously business grad, so I love business, right? Pepsi Cola and Frito-Lay did a merger back in 1965, somewhere in the 60s, and this was something that really sparked what we know for convenience stores, and when we go to a gas station, filling station for fuel, whatever. When we see candy bars and chips and everything, like that inside of a store, a gas station, or a convenience store gas station, this is because of the Pepsi Cola Frito-Lay merger. Pepsi Cola had built a strong and competitive advantage in the soda market in the area of logistics. The snack industry had none of that. And this merger allowed Pepsi Cola to start positioning their product with Frito-Lay into that instantly. So they were able to transfer that asset and that skill set into that merger instantly to make that merger a very profitable merger for everybody involved, right? Because they had that all down and it was already, the platform was there, they were experts in it, and they were able to make that a successful merger because of that, right? So thanks to that, it's now common to see snacks, chips, candy bars, etc. in gas stations, right? In the 1960s, and even myself as a child in the 80s, I don't remember seeing the way that it is today. There's so many products available for us to consume as consumers from the snacking and soda drink industry. And that really, if you trace it back, started with this PepsiCo Frito-Lay merger. An example in technology of this would be when you think about Google's purchase of Android. Google has been always one of the largest software companies out there. It acquired Android in 2000 and it built their services platform, Gmail, Google Drive, any other of the Google apps that you would use, Google Maps, for example, into the Android platform and delivered those services to mobile devices exclusively. I'm pretty sure you can't get any Apple, Apple Maps or some of the other Apple software products on an Android device. I could be wrong, not an Android user, but I'm pretty sure that's exclusive, and that's what Google did. Knowing the software business, knowing the software market, they acquired a software company, and they made that acquisition and merger much more enhanced for everybody involved. An example of that also falling short of transferring that skill or asset is also a good example with Google acquiring Motorola. Google is not a hardware company. They didn't understand the market at all, and that merger acquisition did not pan out well for anybody involved. So one way that we can think about M&As and technology being a good asset is to move in on the organization being merged acquired and use the technology asset to improve the weaker organization with that asset and skill by transferring it. Another way is to share a solid platform of technology, skill, and asset in an M&A is when Microsoft shared its ability to sell Microsoft Office suite to PC buyers. They acquired Visio, and I didn't know this either until recently. Visio was not originally a Microsoft product. It was a standalone software company Microsoft acquired in 2000. They just put it inside of their Microsoft Office suite, bundled it, and that's how it was sold, and that's how they get Visio out there. Again, enhancing and making that M&A successful. right? Microsoft has its own blunders, of course. Getting into the handset business from Nokia didn't work out well for everybody involved in that, right? I don't know where that stands today, but I'm pretty sure you're not buying Nokia handsets anywhere unless it's on eBay in the aftermarket. Could be wrong. But now that we understand this, there's a great dynamic to knowing what makes that successful, and that is just sharing a strong IT department, a strong IT platform in your organization with someone else, with another organization through an M&A. So what does that mean for our group? It has to mean that the acquiring organization starts with understanding where your IT business stands today in the marketplace. And a couple questions come to mind that you should ask yourselves. Does the organization value technology and see the IT department as an asset and primary tool that is central to business? Or does it see it as a high liability, cost of doing business? I mean, I know I've spent a lot of time with organizations where IT technology is still a necessary evil. And because it's thought of such, they're not positioned well, and they're usually the ones catching up with the marketplace or getting acquired. So at CoreTech, we believe a true hybrid cloud can cover running workloads on-prem for latency-sensitive applications, governance, or legacy support. And you can use cloud where it makes sense as part of a strategy for low-hanging fruit, applications that need to be globally available by geolocation or burstable. And this type of hybrid cloud technology we're going to talk about today is a stable and agile platform that you can scale to from. It's all software defined, and it's all cloud operational. And if you do have that cloud first strategy for your organization, it sets you up for that as well, and sets you up for being a strong platform, giving you a strong skill, strong asset that can really be the tip of the spear in your mergers and acquisitions. So without further ado, let's kind of go through some of this technology that we're talking about today. It's no stranger, I'm sure, to anybody that cloud has changed everything and it's driving different strategies, right? Our cloud strategies must match the needs of our workloads. So we have existing workloads today, right? There's two delineations here that we talk about with customers as we step through the cloud journey with them, right? You got existing workloads, and this is making us focus on cost reduction, security, reliability, and control, right? And then as we start to have a cloud strategy, we start to think more about making our workloads more cloud native. So I don't have to focus on cost reduction, security, reliability, control anymore. I can start to think about time to market, innovation, scale, differentiation, mergers and acquisitions, right? If I'm prepared to focus on those things, I can now have a great M&A strategy with my technology versus, looking at cost reduction, security, reliability, control, which is going to slow me down, or at worst case, leave me behind in the marketplace and make me acquirable. Well, we got to look at this as, modernizing things, optimizing workloads with different infrastructure, utilizing hybrid infrastructure is what we're going to talk about today. That means shifting portions of workloads to public cloud, or being able to, or just being prepared to, right? And then you'll hear words in the cloud strategies today about refactoring. This means modifying our workloads, environments, whatever, developing for cloud, or getting into SaaS. And again, SaaS is something everybody has, right? If you're using M365, Office 365 with your email or OneDrive or SharePoint, you're using SaaS. A lot of folks are using SaaS for CRMs nowadays. So SaaS is also part of our cloud strategies. When we talk about this shift, I like to always kind of break it down to two things. You're either constructing infrastructure for your applications and your technology, or you're consuming it, right? And we need to talk about the shift and what it means. Our operations are more change process driven when we're constructing. Our operations now become self-service, chargeback, automated and orchestrated, allowing me to scale human capital and business operations much more simplistically and much more quickly, keeping my organization at the forefront of the marketplace. Okay. When we rebalance workloads and resources across different operating models, there's still infrastructure there, right? Are we on-prem, mostly on-prem, off-prem, right? There's still infrastructure to deal with. Well, if we can talk about a shift, this isn't going to change much, so pay attention. When we talk about a shift, we're really talking about not paying attention to infrastructure anymore. That's what cloud has really done for us, and done it very well and very reliably and very budget friendly, and it's really allowed us to enhance how we can focus our resources internally to keep our businesses competitive with technology. So now I can focus on optimizing and continuity. I can focus on my applications. I can put my smart people into roles doing smart things instead of what we're going to call low value operational things. Okay. Construction versus consumption. So those challenges that we have without having a common platform that is cloud ready, able to scale, making a true hybrid cloud platform are slowing me down, right? Reducing my operational costs. We want to improve our operations so we can get true next day or 0 day operations for scaling, for those M&As, making those acquisitions much more simple. Again, I've been a part of a couple of organizations where one was a insurance company in acquisition mode. For 2 years, we were acquiring a new insurance agency every month. And it was a snowball effect of putting us behind more and more and more. Now, this was back in the early 2000s, so there was no real cloud workloads to deal with then, but constructing all of that stuff to make it happen presented a lot of challenges, right? It didn't allow us to scale easily. It messed up on our budgets, which we'll talk about here. It wasn't agile. So these are the things that cloud has been really awesome at solving for us. And we can build this into a true hybrid cloud stack. So you don't have to pick and choose between a public cloud only, but hey, I still got applications that are legacy and low latency sensitive and for governance need to be on-prem. We can have a true hybrid cloud model and build that into a platform that's going to cover everything no matter where it is. Okay. So if we look at things through that construction mindset, again, 6+ months to deploy. Been a part of this as an admin, been a part of this as an architect, consultant, everything. When you look at what makes up your application as an organization, you have a stack, right? You have compute, network, virtualization, storage, you have data protection, and all of these things have different management networks, or excuse me, management panes of glass to look through for managing each piece of that puzzle. You have different silos, you have different SMEs working in different pieces of this. This has presented a lot of challenges, especially in this day and age recently, where we're having a hard time hiring full-time employees to work in our organizations for technology, right? So we really do have to harness and look at what we can harness automation and software to overcome these challenges, just so we can even keep up with the demand that the marketplace has put on us. Okay, this stuff can take 6 months to deploy or more. Again, been part of these where these take years to deploy, 3 to 4 or 5 years sometimes. And all of it is a cycle. By the time you get to the end of that, you have a little time to breathe. I've migrated some infrastructure and applications over there, and it's time to start thinking about planning for the next life cycle of this whole thing, this data center, this infrastructure that makes up the data center. Notice what we haven't talked about here, applications. We haven't even talked about the applications that the business is using that this infrastructure rides on. This is what the problem of traditional construction of data centers has presented, and it's just constantly drawing dotted lines and arrows throughout this stack, right? Makes it complicated. Well, hybrid cloud operating model, if we can find and talk about that, which we will, we can actually put a hybrid cloud operating model in here, which can use anything from a Microsoft Azure public cloud standpoint down to on-prem commodity hardware with just software defining the entire stack. And it puts in place what I like to call a separation of value items, okay? Low value items. Again, like I said earlier in the previous slide here, construction means I am constantly looking at low value items, dealing with multiple vendors, right? If you're an organization with a technology department, you have multiple vendors, you have multiple partners. You probably also have a partner you lean on more than others, and that's great. But there's still that vendor Olympics thing you got to deal with, right? Life cycling of that infrastructure, care feeding, maintaining it with firmware management. Again, I was an admin at one point in my career, and when it came time to upgrading to, say, vSphere 4, because that's how long ago I was an admin, I guess, there was compatibility matrices you had to go through with your VMware software and look at the servers you were putting VMware on to make sure it was compatible with all the firmwares you had currently on those servers, and then the storage underneath, and then that's all got to mesh with the servers and the SAN fabric. There's a lot of homework that goes into that, right? And my focus was on infrastructure. It wasn't on those actual applications yet. Well, with public cloud like Azure, they do a fantastic job putting a brick wall in front of those low value items, forcing you to have your staff and technology focus on high value items, which is great because that's what's driving revenue back into your business. With a on-prem model, we can do something as well where it puts a curtain in front of that. So you don't have to do that. We can build in the automation out of the box with true 0-day operational capability to do so. And it can also span and scale and manage everything inside of your public cloud as well. We're going to step through that. But those high value items are important today because this is where we need to spend our time to keep us viable and build that strong skill and asset in technology for us to make a successful M&A happen for our organization. Right? Speed to service, orchestration, application development. There we go. Now we're talking about the applications that drive revenue into the organization, right? What this common platform should also do, if it's going to be a strong asset for your organization that's looking to acquire or merge with other places, is it should be able to run any application. Because like I said at the beginning of this talk, there's other organizations like you, but they're not running the same as you. They might share an application, but they don't share the same infrastructure. Or they share the same infrastructure, but not the same application. So nobody's the same. No organizations are the same when it comes to how they do IT, how they deliver it. But a lot of the underpinnings of those applications, SQL, Oracle, SAP, hypervisors from VMware, Red Hat, Hyper-V, whatever, and even clouds, right, like Azure, these technologies are the same, but the underlying infrastructure that makes them up is not. We need to get that to be a common platform that can run any of those things anywhere. And we're going to talk about what that looks like. So just to summarize that up, what we're looking for when we build out this hybrid cloud model is some of these characteristics here, right? It can run virtualized and bare metal workloads, including containers. It can run any hypervisor, VMware, Hyper-V, some of the free Linux ones out there, and it can run in a tier 1 resiliency and be available highly with deep nines of uptime. And API driven is important this day and age when we're talking about using Terraform, Hashi, ServiceNow to build our own customized platforms for portals for customers to do their own self-servicing. It needs to scale out and scale consistently. So traditional IT, I would say these are the organizations that are typically being acquired. Almost every organization I've seen that is being acquired in technology as a consultant is running very, very old stuff and has not upgraded and done their life cycles. And I think they just get behind and it's just too much. And before you know it, they're no longer competitive in their marketplace and other things start to happen to the organization as a result. And now they're looking at being acquired just to kind of get out of it, I guess. And the organizations that are doing a good acquisition are doing what we're talking about from the software-defined level on the right. Again, don't think about construction. Let's think about consuming. So technology going from physical to infrastructure as a service and PaaS. You can build this, and we're going to talk about with what. From looking at virtual to PaaS and CaaS, construction versus consumption. I've said that a lot. APIs are important versus having requests come in with a ticketing system with a service 1 through 4 help desk, for example. And then, traditional IT is always typically reactive and isolated and seen as that necessary evil. But technology should be seen as proactive, integrated, and we can trust it because it's secure and we know it's secure, but we can also validate that and prove it out. So those technologies that we're talking about here today are important because when we think about hybrid cloud, there's public cloud, there's on-prem, right? And I think what we've stepped through in recent years is we call our on-prem stuff a private cloud maybe, and then we've got public cloud. So we've kind of kept that delineated maybe from a conceptual level. And at CoreTech, we believe in hybrid cloud. We believe that your workload should seamlessly move around wherever you want it to securely. It should be common in the platform it's running on, and there should be deep levels of uptime, and it should be protected and secured at all levels. And we're going to talk about that here. But when you look at the study by Flexera, the state of the cloud, 82% of organizations are running multi-cloud, right? Multi-cloud meaning on-prem infrastructure, maybe multiple public clouds. Most organizations are sticking with one or the other. And then multiple SaaS providers as well. So at CoreTech, for the tip of the spear for us to start looking at building a hybrid cloud platform, we use a technology. One of the technologies we use is Nutanix. This cloud platform is an HCI or hyperconverged foundation that gives you the choice of hypervisor that you can use. So all of the hypervisors that are the most popular ones down to some of the ones you probably never heard of. It scales out storage in a software-defined manner. Networking overlays and microsegmentation are built in, and it drives a single foundation for virtual machines, containers, and storage, and many, many, many more things, including database automation and awareness of things, of applications as well. So this gives you a unified plane for all of your IT automation and management, and it allows you to manage all of your infrastructure from one place, no matter where it is. But it also gives you the cost, resource governance, IT automation, orchestration, self-service capabilities that you need that makes your IT and technology a valuable asset, okay? On top of that, you have rich data services to support stateful applications, and that allows you to run and support different workloads, traditional applications, mission-critical databases, modern workloads, VDI, end-user compute, and so much more. This is a great way to build a platform for a hybrid cloud strategy in your organization when you need to run on-prem in one or multiple data centers and stretch into the likes of a Microsoft Azure public cloud. So this is built from the ground up with security by design first, so it's not bolted on. That's one of the things at CoreTech that we like to vet out, is security is at the top of our mindset. And this is integrated and built into a single software platform, so it's not like it's a bolt-on solution that was acquired. This is all built in and baked in and highly, highly secure. So it starts with that foundational infrastructure when we're looking at building a hybrid cloud. So that cloud journey with this foundation is a simple one-click deployment and something I'll just kind of dub as a web scale architecture that can scale linearly while maintaining resilience. It uses machine learning to do capacity planning, security, self-healing. When compared to traditional SAN environments or three-tier architecture, traditional IT models, those silos now disappear, as well do the complications. You know, no more silos, no more complications, right? Quicker time to value, quicker time to market, quicker time to application deployment, quicker time to solving problems, quicker visibility into seeing what's going on with the infrastructure in the case of resource contentions or whatever it might be. So when you use that HCI cloud platform along with public clouds, you now get a hybrid cloud with application mobility. So you don't have to refactor or recode yet. You still can make that part of your strategy, but this will build a platform that gets you to the cloud quicker, as well as leaving your applications intact the way that you know that they can work with, say, legacy hypervisor needs or support needs that are keeping them on a legacy hypervisor, whatever it might be, before you can start to factor and recode that, right? I've heard of this term recently, lift. You got the lift and shift, but you also got the lift, tinker, and shift. This would allow you to build a true hybrid cloud platform, on-prem infrastructure with public cloud, and allow you to lift, tinker, and then shift if you have to, right? Licensing is portable. All right. So when we have portable licensing, wherever the workload goes or the software goes, that's where the license goes. Okay. This makes your technology department cloud ready by default when you really think about it. It's cloud ready for all your virtual machines, containers, applications, security, storage, etc. If you're not cloud ready today, this will give you the ability to expand your storage capacity and burst without having to expand your data center. Of course, all the public cloud native services that you want would also be built into this as well, and have access to the providers, and you'll have access to your providers that are available for your use. So that bursting thing is a real thing. I worked for a public school system. That was one of the other organizations I worked at. I think I mentioned before where we were in M&A mode of acquiring other public schools and their technology data centers because funding in our state was getting unique and how they could do that. And it just made more sense to kind of consolidate that into what they called a consortium. One of the things I'm sure my home state does is I'm sure your home state might do for public schools is they require standardized testing of all the students every year. The way that my state handled this was it was given to us, a bunch of virtual machines 12 years ago were given to us on hard disks that we had to put in our virtual infrastructure in our data center. Well, public school meant public funding, which meant no funding. This meant we had to come up with something quick. Well, we could acquire some hardware, right? Expensive hardware and software licenses and all the things that make this up for the 1 month of need. Or we would just take those VMs and put them into an IaaS organization. We had a local vendor who had data centers and they offered infrastructure service. So we could actually deploy those for the month we needed, do our week of deployment for pre-staging testing, and then actual production testing for the students, and then offload them and then be done, right? In the public cloud world we live in today, with a common platform, if I had that built, if I had a hybrid cloud model ready to go in my data center, even though I may not have had to use public cloud, I'd be ready to burst into that if I had to. And all of it would have been inside of my governance and control, and it would have scaled instantly, securely, and it would have been mine, right? It would have just been elastic and flexible and agile as I needed it. And then I could decommission it at the end of it, right? With pay as you go. Would have been much more budget friendly too. So that's one way, one example that you can really utilize hybrid cloud as a platform, even if you aren't into the public cloud today. So some of the benefits of hyperconverged infrastructure, which starts as your foundation for a hybrid cloud platform, is it increases your productivity and efficiency, okay? So instead of needing to spend most of your time and effort maintaining infrastructure, like I talked about, with only a fraction of time left for your applications and services, again, all that stuff about construction and traditional data center infrastructure didn't leave me much time to even tell you about applications, right? This kind of a platform flips that equation around, right? So instead of 80-20, now we can put that 80% of effort into applications, right? And spread out my human capital, my IT staff, my smart people into focusing on what actually drives in revenue to the organization. Okay, so to position your IT business as a strong asset and skill for M&A, this kind of an HCI technology as a platform for hybrid cloud will give your team the ability to focus more time and energy innovating and solving business challenges in your M&A without needing to compromise on features and capabilities that traditional infrastructure provides, okay? So being positioned for cloud native services is something that this platform does on day zero. It gives you the ability to have a platform that's built for any application, any workload, with resiliency, scale, security, all those good things we keep talking about. And that is the foundation that your organization is going to need. And this is what's going to make it possible out of the box, okay? So one of the other things that this benefit of HCI provides as a foundation for your hybrid cloud journey, and ultimately your cloud journey, is it gives you that built-in machine learning and automation through a single web user interface, much like a public cloud, right? Your IT departments can now reduce complex and repetitive tasks across the life cycle in just a few clicks. You can deploy resources non-disruptively, scale to your cloud, whether on-prem or in public cloud like Azure during business hours. You no longer have to work through nights and weekends. All IT admins like myself in my past life would say amen to that. They can manage and monitor server storage applications, VMs, from one place as opposed to multiple specialized tools that you need to use to do so traditionally. So a system that can detect and automatically resolve anomalies in real time is baked into this kind of a platform that we're talking about. This reduces the need to firefight issues, okay? Putting you, again, flipping that equation around, putting you on the upside. Now your IT is a strong asset rather than something that's seen as a necessary evil again. Okay, you can perform upgrades from hardware all the way through the stack of the hypervisor in a single click. And that frees up the weeks of careful planning and the homework, like I said earlier, studying compatibility matrices of all those components in your stack that makes up the infrastructure that runs your applications, okay? Guesswork. Takes a lot of guesswork out of it. Once you introduce machine learning and AI engines into a platform like this, and we choose this one because it's baked in by default, all of that guesswork being gone, now you don't have to worry about it leading to expensive, surprising things that, inhibit your business growth. And this is something, again, being part of M&As that was common, because you're acquiring an organization, you have to onboard their applications and their data center infrastructure and everything that their applications rides on, I guess you should say, from a data center infrastructure standpoint. And you have to kind of guess, where how much capacity you need, how much resources do I need from compute, what licenses do we have. There's a lot of homework to discover what the organization has at that point, right? And a lot of times, again, remember what I said, organizations that are being acquired don't always have that stuff because they've been so far behind the 8 ball, for reasons that have led up to the point where attrition's happening. Other things are happening where people are no longer keeping good documentation of where things are in the state of IT. So a lot of it is investing into discovery. Okay, so when we look at how we discover, and then we have to guess, well, okay, we're going to onboard all these applications. Now we have to build out our infrastructure to adapt to those applications coming into our infrastructure. Now we have to go and ask for financing for this. And really, it's kind of just best guess effort. Well, with a common platform powered by HCI, like we're talking about for your hybrid cloud, it's built in. Okay, so now you can minimize service interruptions. You can build early warning awareness. You can cost model. You can actually model your infrastructure to say, we're bringing aboard this many workloads. This container platform, it's this size and storage, these amount of VMs that are this big or whatever, and you can actually model that out to resolve the issue of onboarding, all because of the machine learning and automation built in. Okay, so this gives you what we call runway alerts. So you can actually see as well when you bring aboard more applications, and as your infrastructure is growing across your hybrid cloud platform, you can actually see what kind of runway you're getting out of the infrastructure that you have. It might be telling you, hey, the way that things are going right now, you're going to only last, in this case, 28 days. And the 28 days contention is based on storage. You need to add more storage. And you can actually quickly resolve that as well through the same management, which is really nice. So taking the guesswork out of it, right? That's what the AI inside of a platform like this is going to be able to do. Hybrid cloud with HCI also allows you to understand the performance behavior of all the workloads. Okay, so it's constantly monitoring the systems. And when it detects the performance, say, of a virtual machine that's deviating from its normal behavior significantly, the machine learning and AI engine will raise an anomaly alert automatically. So again, this is something this platform has the capability of doing day zero, right out of the box. Nothing special to configure, it's just part of it, right? And that's why we think this is a good strategy for anybody in an M&A to make sure IT is an asset for that if you're an acquiring organization. Oftentimes those performance anomalies are early indicators of system degradation or performance impact to the workloads that your workloads are running on, or the infrastructure that your workloads are running on. That anomaly detection gives technology departments a huge edge and enough time when dealing with performance issues, right? So this is one of the best features you're going to have to help you, again, stay at the top of your market when it comes to looking at M&As and making IT an asset for your organization. So unifying multiple clouds. Again, this platform that we're talking about today with Nutanix is the tip of our spear because it gives you the portability and no lock-in, okay? So if your cloud journey is already set and you still have a need, again, like our survey said earlier of organizations, 83% are running in a hybrid cloud world or multiple cloud world, right? So there is definitely going to be some on-prem use cases that are still needed for many organizations. Like for the reasons we mentioned earlier. Well, we can unify that with a single software-defined platform like this and give you native integration into the likes of Azure so you can start consuming and scaling into Azure as you need to as part of your cloud journey. So here's a look at the details, okay? These HCI components will run on bare metal instances in Azure and be managed from a single interface, providing identical functionality to on-premise workloads and technology environments that you have on-prem. So again, common platform. That Nutanix Cloud Platform there is what we're talking about. I can run these applications here on-prem or up inside of my Azure zone, all seamlessly. Okay, and I can leverage the same VPCs, VPNs, direct connection figures, or direct connect figures, however you do them, express route, whatever. All of that works the same way. This is just another service inside of Azure's public cloud that allows you to build your hybrid cloud platform and be truly hybrid with a lot more functionality for both on-prem and public cloud workloads, or multiple on-prem workloads if you have multiple data centers. So some of those feature highlights, again, my favorite here that we're seeing a lot of traction around businesses right now, organizations that are not quite cloud ready. We're still seeing quite a few organizations that are, still adverse to cloud, don't trust it for everything. DR is a great way to start. And this is where we see so many organizations starting to utilize public cloud, because again, think back to my construction versus consumption mindset, right? We've been constructing multiple data centers for business continuity in DR. So production data center, maybe multiple production data centers, maybe multiple co-locations where I'm still constructing data center infrastructure, hardware stacks, all those things that we talked about that are low value items. You can start to utilize with a platform like HCI in a hybrid cloud form. You can really start getting into a phenomenal strategy with cloud by utilizing it for DR, and it works phenomenally. Okay, so I really challenge organizations that are still adverse to cloud to really start considering your co-location and flipping that out for using public cloud for those resources, and using a platform like HCI to make that a true hybrid cloud operational model. Okay, scaling up and down on demand, like I talked about earlier in my example as an admin, right? When I needed to burst into there, that would have been, public cloud would have been a great solution for that. So right now, for Nutanix, clusters and Azure, running their software in Azure to give you a true hybrid cloud on-prem and an Azure consumption platform is available in these data centers and growing. So they're expanding to more and more data centers. They have currently 2 node types that we help right size and configure for how much storage, compute, and memory you need to run your workloads, etc. We build and architect that out in a way with these 2 nodes. More nodes are being added all the time. So this is something that is a great platform to get on, and Azure and Nutanix have a great story in how they're providing a true hybrid cloud platform to do that, which is great for any successful M&A. The only thing I want to touch on here is a good hybrid cloud strategy for your M&A should always include the ability to look at how you're doing different billing consumption models, right? Not one size fits all, okay? So pay-as-you-go, pay-as-you-grow are one thing that we get with the on-prem side of stuff with Nutanix software. Bring your own licensing. You can do this in CapEx, OpEx, etc. And of course, in Azure, like any public cloud, you have on-demand resources or reserved instance resources that you can consume in 1 or 3 year upfront payments. So very flexible there. When it comes to, again, building this platform out, we want to make sure it's got the ability to consume anything. You're going to have workloads that you go through an M&A with, and an organization is going to be running Hyper-V as a hypervisor. They're going to be running VMware. They might be running something else from, Kubernetes versus, another container platform out there like OpenShift, let's say, right? So there's a lot of different things out there, and to be successful in M&A, choosing a platform that brings those barriers down and makes it easier to transfer this platform and merge that platform into that organization is going to be key to making a successful M&A for the IT department, especially if you want to have technology be seen as an asset for them. Okay, APIs. It is all about APIs these days. A lot of organizations running ServiceNow, Ansible, Chef, Puppet, whatever it might be, right? Hashi, and these APIs are doing some great things in the way of automation, and having resources in a platform that can scale across on-prem infrastructure and public cloud infrastructure to integrate into those through APIs is a great single common platform to use from an API standpoint, instead of having to use multiple pieces throughout a stack that makes up infrastructure or multiple clouds. Okay. Multi-cloud cost governance. This might be one of my favorite things. A lot of M&As get surprised, right? Especially in this public cloud era. So built into this HCI common platform is cost governance tools that allow your organization to understand what they're spending on resources across public clouds or with their data center, on-prem infrastructure data center, that is. So this tool gives you out-of-the-box private cloud costing that uses pre-configured TCO models that you can configure to your business if you want. And it gives you accurate visibility into your true private cloud on-prem infrastructure spend, including not just Nutanix hardware, software, and license costs, but also power, cooling, data center space, telecom, salaries of FTEs in the IT department. You can build this out and get very finite, okay? As well as your public clouds. These costs are allocated to individual workloads based on workloads allocated capacity, or say back to your organization that you're merging or acquiring with. You can then use that tool to create multi-cloud chargeback reports that you can allocate resources and costs to cost centers spanning private and public clouds. So this tool alone has proven to identify savings of like 35% at least, just by right-sizing resources, or doing intelligent things with reserve instance purchases and things like that in public clouds, as well as automating manual tasks and things like that. So a phenomenal way to start building a platform that can start to show you where your spend is going across any cloud anywhere. Of course, we're talking about hybrid cloud, and we can't talk about hybrid cloud these days without talking about a hybrid workforce, which has been the topic for the last 2 years, thank you to the pandemic. The platform that we're talking about here with Nutanix at an HCI level is the only hyperconverged infrastructure hybrid cloud platform that has a great story and compatibility, validated design, I should say, with Citrix, which is also the leader in application virtualization and desktop virtualization. So same thing we're talking about with applications. I know we focused a lot of our talk today on data center workloads and kind of those compute needs and things like that. If you have that hybrid workforce, this is a great way to start chipping away at building a single common platform with a couple of the market leaders in application virtualization, desktop virtualization for remote workforce, with security, scaling, utilizing public cloud to have desktops closer to where users are as we continue to kind of spread out in this hybrid workforce world. It's a great way to put a lot of that stuff we've been talking about today into your mobile workforce as well, and end user compute needs. Wrapping this portion up here, don't have much more to talk about after this, but the platform that we're talking about with Nutanix, market leader, both for Gartner and Forrester. Again, you'll get a copy of this so you can kind of study this on your own. But we can't talk about all this stuff, and I shouldn't say quickly because we don't want to take security as something that we talk about quickly. But we have to talk about data protection, and with with CoreTech, like Nutanix is the tip of our spear for building a hybrid cloud platform. From the data protection side, the same reasons are why we use Cohesity as the tip of our spear in a hybrid cloud world to protect our workloads, okay? So when it comes to protecting workloads, this is top of everyone's mind. I just got sent an article a couple minutes before this webinar today about the new ransomware trick is the Robinhood ransomware, I guess, where attackers are not holding your data at ransom for money to be paid to them. They want you to go out and do a good deed, like pay someone's medical bill or give to a charitable organization, and then have you take a picture of yourself and put it on social media with a special hashtag that they'll see. And it's crazy. But the point being there is this is never going to end. And, we've talked about data protection, I think, and security in IT for so many years, rightfully so, at the network level, trying to keep them out of our network, right? Well, the fact remains, while that's still something we have to talk about and make sure we're doing a phenomenal job at working at, once they're in the network, they have already penetrated everything that is going to stop them for the most part, and now it's on to your data itself, right? Now it's down to your business's assets, your business's lifeblood, revenue generation, right? Anything they can do from that standpoint, from your applications, is very detrimental to your organization. All I have to do is read any news on this stuff to understand that. So with Cohesity, we like this product because it's scalable the same way we talked about. It's security first by design, like we talked about with infrastructure for your applications. And data protection is something that is one thing when we back up our data, but we need to make it secure by locking it out so that an attacker can't come in and change my backups or lock them out, right? So with Cohesity, you get immutability in your backups. You get global deduplication to save space across all your workloads for your backups. And you get, my favorite feature of them is not only is it backing your data up, it's immutable so it can't be compromised, but it's also instantly recoverable. Because again, like we talked about earlier, once a ransomware attacker is inside your network and locks out your application server, okay, at least you can't get to where my backups are, but now I can instantly recover them. And when I say instantly recover, I don't mean, grab a few files, reboot a VM from a clone or a whatever from the night before, and then restore the most recent database. I mean instantly recover the virtual machine where it is. So within minutes, you can have these VMs or containers or different applications up and running back to their last known good snapshot or backup copy instantly, within minutes. This is something that's been proven out, and that's what we call that air gap. So that air gap is when you have a need to recover from your data protection infrastructure, how fast can it be back up and running? That time between is what we call that air gap. Cohesity, we love this because it has the shortest air gap on the market that we've seen. It's instantly within minutes, got your workloads back up and running, not just one, not just all of them can be back up and running within minutes, okay? Across any cloud, on-prem, public clouds like Azure, whatever it might be. So if we're going to talk about a great solution that's going to redefine how we traditionally have thought about data protection, it starts by having this platform that's a single software defined solution that can back up and recover instantly and simplify operations. Same thing we talked about with building application infrastructure. So this solution is going to help us protect both traditional and modern data sources, okay? It's also efficient as an entire environment can now be managed through a single global universal interface or user interface. And that's true if it's workloads in Azure, workloads on-prem, in any infrastructure, workloads across multiple data centers. Doesn't matter where you are, a single UI allows you to manage all this stuff. It's based on immutable file system, okay? The file system was written to be immutable. This is not something that is, again, a bolt-on thing. Like we talked about, security is baked in. It's top of mind. And only immutability in an immutable file system can stop ransomware or malware from modifying your backups. Okay, it's highly optimized as a platform, and it's not just another backup solution. Okay, this is something that can uniquely support multiple use cases, including files and objects. It reuses backup and infrastructure data to do test dev and analytics if you want to. If you want to clone databases, if you want to deploy your Active Directory, global accounts and all that stuff inside of Active Directory into Azure AD, right? You can do that. It's a good migration tool. It's a good business continuity DR tool that we can talk a lot more about, which we don't have time for today, but I'd love to chat with everyone about it. And it's unlimited scalability. Again, scaling anywhere as well. On-prem, off-prem, that's the key here when we talk about building a hybrid cloud. Okay, so we're going to wrap this up here. Data protection has to be a discussion about redefining backup. Everybody's worried about ransomware. I'm talking to more and more customers that are saying this. Our competitor, just had this happen, so we're scared now. Like, those are the conversations we're happening. We've got a couple customers who had ransomware infiltrated. Just had an email from one today. Ransomware has infiltrated their firewalls and it's on their network now, and they're worried and they would like us to look at their infrastructure to make sure it's clear and clean. With a product like Cohesity and the way that it works in this multiple cloud, hybrid cloud world as a platform for protection of your data, this is a redefinition of what it means to not just back it up and manage it, but protect it. And get into things I can't even cover in enough time. This can do Antivirus scanning, its anomaly detection engine is phenomenal. So if ransomware comes in and changes your virtual machine infrastructure, for example, to have thin VM disks to thick VM disks, this will detect that and go, this is not right, this is way too many, or this is an anomaly, and it will alert you and allow you to take actionable actions to prevent any further issues with the infrastructure. So all of it simplified, efficient, immutable, cost-effective, scalable, everything you want from that platform of a hybrid cloud. And again, if you're going through those M&As, this is attractive as an asset for your technology in your organization for companies that are looking to merge or onboard with you through acquisition. So that was what I wanted to chat about today from a hybrid cloud standpoint. How CoreTech kind of looks at the approach of building a great platform that prepares you for your cloud journey as an organization, but also how you can use that preparation of an infrastructure in a hybrid cloud way to make your IT department seen as an asset and for organizations that you're looking to merge or acquire. Again, talking to organizations, the ones that are getting acquired are the ones who have gotten behind the ball, don't have great strategy, and it just continues to just snowball over time. The wheels kind of fall off, if you will, right? It doesn't happen quickly, it's pretty slow. But once they're there, there's nothing really they can do, and now they're ready to be acquired to get out of it. So a great platform to have for yourself to be ready for that is a platform like we talked about that builds upon these principles that makes up a great hybrid cloud strategy, no matter how you want to run it. So we have some additional resources. Again, you're going to get a copy of this at the end of our talk today. So more content here for you to look through for different governances with Azure, some other mergers and acquisitions that we've done. I think some use case studies on that too. So all of this will be available to you.
Thank you so much, Joe. Appreciate it. It was great information. As a reminder, I think we've said it 100 times, but we will email out the recording of the webinar as well as a copy of this slide deck with all the links intact. And if you're interested in anything that we discussed today, please reach out to us at coretech.com. And thanks for attending, everybody. We'll see you next month.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.